What is up, guys? We are back with one of these crazy episodes. We have Aaron in his studio, me in my studio, and Tyler is driving right now on his way to Florida in his new studio, his car.
Yeah, man. Yes. I've been driving since 7 a.m., man. I'm tired.
Yeah. I couldn't imagine. That's a long trip, so more power to you. You're at the home stretch. You got like an hour plus to go now.
Yeah, you can see the sunset too behind you right now. It looks beautiful. So
yeah, beautiful weather.
Well, before
it feels weird doing the podcast like this.
Don't get used to this because this isn't going to be us while you're sitting at the beach. But before we get into it, we got to talk a little bit about what's going on in the world. As everybody knows, Russia has done its own thing and went into Ukraine and is basically decimating everything that they touch. It's crazy that we're living in a time where we could be seeing something kick off that could be really extreme. I mean, all it takes is one wrong thing, and we're looking at World War III right now in the face. Everyone's trying to do the diplomacy's part of it and trying to do things that can prevent what's going to happen, but it's too late, I think. And all these sanctions that they're putting on him, I think nothing is going to deter this guy from doing what he wants to do.
Mm-hmm. All the while, China continues to have even more power than they have. So it's frustrating to know it got to this.
It's going to be an interesting couple of days.
Well, that's the thing that scares me is China's not saying nothing negative against Russia, and they're sitting back and watching how the world is doing nothing against Russia as they're doing what they want at will. And now China's buzzing Taiwan again. It's like we live in a world now where it's just weird. It really is. You know, it's like Russia is the superpower, and if they take control of the Ukraine, I just think it's not gonna stop there. I think they're gonna go up to Belarus. I think they're gonna keep going north and take back all the parts of the old Russia that they want to take.
Soviet. Isn't it crazy that we live in 2022 and people are invading each other?
Still, and this is a full-on onslaught. Apparently, I've seen like a map, but one of the interesting points is whenever the NATO treaty was signed, I think I was listening to a podcast on this actually, and they had mentioned when the treaty was signed, the NATO treaty was signed. In that, I believe, was law stating that there was never going to be NATO presence in Ukraine. And so this completely went against what that was signed. And I think obviously Russia takes that to heart as they made a terrible, terrible decision. And their country, there's already an elitist system there too. So
the thing that really drives me crazy is how a war over in Europe is affecting us, like with the gas prices, the stock market freaking going down, how many points the last 2 days. China just bought more wheat off of Russia to enable them to keep doing what they're doing. The thing is if the sanctions do work, and he does, I mean, they cut off his oil, his pipeline. So
and the banks, they cut all the banks.
What's next? Yeah, I mean, he's got 32 ships sitting off the coast of Israel. They're saying the next place he's going to be going is Syria. And
I was saying too, how much does it take for the Russian people to think, be doing this? But also, I feel like if they speak out, they could possibly be killed.
Well, they're not going to speak out. Russia's people are not going to speak out. This is a man that has rigged so many elections, who have put death threats against all his opponents. The guy has more than $100 billion in his account because he's been robbing his own people. He's one of the richest men in the world, and he's a sociopath. I mean, this guy is going to do what he wants to do. And my thing is if, and I don't want to get biblically here, but there's the whole Ezekiel war where it talks about Rosh, and that could be Russia, depending on how you determine it. But it says that one day they will come from the north and they will invade Israel to take the booty of war, which, let's face it, Israel right now is one of the largest suppliers of oil, over there. And if they cut off his pipeline, what's preventing him from going after other countries? And then you have countries like Iran that are sitting there, and you have countries that just have the nuclear power and the nuclear means. I mean, The thing that scares me the most about this whole thing is he said that we all need to mind our own business because if we get involved, he'll do something that we'll never have seen before ever, which to me sounds like a nuclear threat.
Yeah, and that's crazy because we send troops into the NATO area to defend, and all it takes is one bad shot, and World War III opens up.
Well, we send more troops into it. We have troops in Poland. We have troops in Germany. Look, my thing is if NATO was the superpower that they are with all these nations, why didn't they flood into the Ukraine and say, you know what, look, if you're going to attack, now you're attacking all these nations? You know, maybe that would have deterred him from going in. You know, Sean Penn's over there.
With how big Russia is.
Sean Penn's stuck over there. Sean Penn was shooting a documentary on the Ukraine, and now he's in Kyiv. He's stuck over there.
No way.
Yeah.
That's insane.
Yeah, I just heard that on the way home. But inflation is already up 7%. They're expecting it to go up to 10% in the next couple weeks, months, whatever. You're going to see $6, $7, $8 a gallon for fuel here. And all it takes is for Biden, this chucklehead, and I don't mean that in any disrespect whatsoever. This guy's just an old guy, and I feel bad for him. Open up the reserves. Get us start doing what we did before. Produce our own oil. Let us become the superpower that supplies all these other countries. And you can lower. You can get rid of inflation, and you can supply us with what we need. And
I think this is what's going to start that too. To finally open our eyes and say, "Screw that! We should be doing our own stuff."
But I think a part of this it's a political scam because if they raise the gas prices, it's going to force people into electric cars. No, I don't know.
Right?
Which
is another big policy too. So
yeah.
Which is, and I think that's a practical option as well. But if we have this much of a reserve, why not feed our economy anyways? Outsourced, whatever the case may be.
Yeah. This the thing that
this is for energy.
This could be something that we've never seen in our lifetime.
Mm-hmm.
I know.
And all it takes is one idiot to do something wrong. And next thing you know, he's pushing that button. And let's face it, Ace, you're safe. You're in Minnesota. There's no main targets out there. But Ty's kind of safe too now. But I live between Washington D.C. and New York. I'm gonna be in that that zone of that cloud that comes with all that nuclear. You know what I'm gonna do? I'm just gonna sit on the front porch, pop a beer, and do a podcast.
Sit on that rocking chair that I built.
Yeah, no kidding. Hey, speaking of that, I was going to talk about the inflation, and honestly, I think that's a good segue to get into sports. And maybe you want to start with quarterback. I assume NFL instead of baseball.
Yeah, we can get into baseball then.
Or
Aaron Rodgers basically. Aaron Rodgers basically, I think he's going to get traded. I really do. I think there's such a
I don't think so.
I think there's a big misunderstanding of what he was supposed to get after the season. I think him and his agent thought he was supposed to be able to go get a trade, and the GM for the Packers came out today and said, "I never ever said that." I don't think he's going to be in Pittsburgh anymore. I just think it's to the point where not Pittsburgh. I mean, the Packers. I think he's going to be out of there. I think there's going to be several teams already reported trying to make trades with him already.
If you listen, he was just on the Pat McAfee show, and he seems like he's on really good terms with the Packers lately. They brought in that QB coach that he loves. He used to be a coach with. I mean, he used to coach him, and they're meeting. Like I think it's a whole new situation there.
Well, my thing is, Ty, he came out today and he basically said he'll have a decision coming real fast. And there's reports out there today that there's several teams that are making offers for a trade for him, and I guarantee you Denver's one of them. I think that's going to be a huge place for him. I think Denver's one of them. I think you could see him possibly going to Tennessee. And, they are trying to restructure contracts. They restructured Kenny Clark's deal, and they made $10.8 million of cap space. But it's still not enough. And they have until March 8th to decide whether they're going to franchise tag Devontae Adams.
And I was just going to say, Adams does not want to be franchised. So Rodgers is not going to make a decision until that's done, no matter what happens there. And I think it's middle of March or something.
March 8th is the deadline. So they got to put
the start of the new year.
They got to put the tag on him before March 8th.
Okay.
I just think Rodgers is in a better place with them. He went from not wanting to meet with all those coaches. Now they're having dinners together. I think he's a little. I think it's a happier situation for everybody.
I do too, honestly, but at the same time, though, it does hinge on Devontae, and freeing up that space for Kenny Clark with Kenny Clark was huge. I don't know what their pick situation is, but at the same time, they're gonna want to. I don't. It doesn't look like they're entertaining any idea to trade, I guess, is my point.
Well, he's $46 million against the cap. If they cut him before June 1st, it's a $26 million dead cap hit. If it's after June 1st, it's only $19 million. But that's still a lot of money of dead cap floating around. So if he does leave, it's going to have to be via trade. Mm-hmm. But I just think it might get to the point where they're done with it. I mean, let's face it. Yeah,
Sorry, I was going to say the Broncos and the Dolphins had some picks, but I don't. Maybe even the 49ers. Heck, they were rumored to have Brady. But go ahead.
Denver packaged a lot of supposedly packaged like 2 1s, a receiver, and like a 2 or something like that before. My thing is we're I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I'm torn because this whole Instagram post and like all these things, but at the same token, it's just like I think the guy wants to go. I really do. And
I don't know. It's weird because like I think if anything it's Tennessee, but I'm telling you, I think compared to last year, I think Green Bay was, like, all right, we definitely need to change, have more open communication, or we're going to lose a 2-time MVP back to back. And how would that look? You know what I mean?
Yeah, but my thing is, Ty, is if they don't trade Love's coming up on his 5th year option already. And they have nothing on him right now to even pick that option up. So if you don't move Love, I mean, what are you doing then? Then now you have
they got time though. They're just gonna milk that. Like,
yeah, I guess. I mean, but you think the draft's only a month away.
Contract, right? Yeah, I mean, Love's still on a rookie contract. He can wait. Bring Rodgers back. Go for the Super Bowl. They're tired of going into the NFC Championship. They want to win the Super Bowl. Get Devontae Adams. I think it's going to happen. A lot of inside sources around Green Bay are saying it's going to happen. I was big thinking he was going to get traded, but I don't think he's going to anymore.
Yeah, but I don't. To be honest with you, I think because of the salary cap situation that they're in, I really don't think he wants to be there because they're going to lose a lot of key pieces in order to keep him there. Like if he went to Denver, Denver has a lot of cap money.
If you listen to a lot of these inside NFL reporters, being in the cap situation is nothing anymore. They're saying like it literally means nothing anymore.
Yeah, but they're saying they might lose both of those edge rushers. They might lose both of those edge rushers. Smith. I mean, there's a lot of guys. A lot of
you can replace them in the draft. You can replace them in the draft. Get younger in that position.
Okay, but if you do bring him back, Ty, that's $46 million against the cap. They're already $42 million over the cap. You didn't even sign your best receiver yet. You can't even afford to franchise tag him. Do you think he really wants to stay in a situation like that?
I think they're going to turn a lot of those contracts into guarantee money and continue to push it away. I mean, I just don't think that they're going to let a guy that just won the MVP 2 years in a row just walk away. I think that they're going to do whatever they can.
Hot take, Aaron Rodgers is going to Denver.
Oh.
Going to Denver.
But I think about it. They were without their best they were without the best left tackle in the game, arguably, Bakhtiari, and Jair Alexander, their cornerback, didn't play either. And they were expecting to have both them back, I think, earlier than they initially felt. But Bakhtiari had setback. I'm assuming the same with Alexander.
But let's face it.
There's no way they won't get back.
But there's a lot of quarterbacks that are going to be out there this year. I mean, they could do a trade with Seattle and swap quarterbacks. And Russ is cheaper than freaking Aaron.
Well, yeah, we have. How many quarterbacks have we kind of gone through the gamut with here?
Well, Wentz,
like even
Rodgers,
Garoppolo
Deshaun. You got Winston.
I'll tell you what. I would.
You got
Colts.
Cousins possibly.
Garoppolo to the Colts there.
with how long this drive has been, I've listened to like 30 different podcasts where they've had insiders on, and they're saying, don't be shocked if teams don't move these quarterbacks because it comes down to, Wentz and Baker and all these guys. Can you get someone better than them this year with how bad the draft is and not many free agents? Like, for the Colts situation, can you get somebody right now who's better than Wentz that will take you far?
Yeah, but the problem with the Colts
Maybe not
is they don't
now.
have a good receiving core.
Yeah, I mean, but like you're talking about Green Bay right now. You have Jarvis Landry who might be
Michael
cut to
Pittman.
save a cap hit. That they could go get someone like that, a veteran,
Yeah.
to bring in and beef up that offense. Like,
Yeah, Landry's a wanted
I
guy.
think that there's a lot of these quarterbacks that we want to see on the move, but I just think that just don't be shocked if they don't get moved.
Yeah, but this
Godwin.
GM has a huge hole he has to jump through just in order to get 2 of his stars back before he can even think of free agents. So
Yeah.
this is going to be a year where you're going to see a lot of big names on the move. And I would not be surprised if Aaron Rodgers by next week isn't rumored going to Denver or somewhere else. I hope he does go to the AFC. I really do. The NFC North's wide open.
I would love that. I mean, the Vikings are like plus 3,300 to win the Super Bowl. I wouldn't even go that far. I'd pick them to go to the NFC Championship, though.
You should put money on them right now to win the North.
Oh, for
One
sure.
hot take. One hot
Yes.
take I'll tell you guys.
Well,
is,
Ty, you already said this about them winning the North, I think. Speaking of hot take.
my inside sources, that I have. I got sources.
Okay, the laptop.
We know who it
A
is
lot
now.
of people were asking this one insider on the Pat McAfee show, and I thought this was interesting. They said, what's an underrated quarterback that no one's talking about that you could see moved? And they said, don't be surprised if you see Trubisky get a chance on a team with how bad the quarterback coach handled Justin Fields. It makes the whole Trubisky situation look 10 times better than it is, and then getting a year under Josh Allen.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. He's a good quarterback, and I wouldn't see him sliding in somewhere, and he'll be cheap. I mean, that would be something the Saints could even look at. You got Winston down there who's not re-signed yet. I'd be looking at a quarterback that's looking for a second chance that's going to take a short deal, a cheap deal.
I think he's a free agent too.
Speaking of quarterbacks,
Really?
these are your top quarterback salaries for the next year coming up. Patrick Mahomes, $450 million, averaging $45 million a year. Josh Allen, $258 million, averaging $43 million. Dak Prescott, $160, averaging $40 million. Watson, who hasn't played, man, $156, averaging $39 million. And then you have Russell Wilson at $140 million, at $35 million a year. That's big bucks. I could see a $50 million quarterback coming up within the next 5 years. And that's what's killing football. I mean, but you got...
Oh, absolutely, but you shouldn't, though. Like, the only guys that should get paid that much, or whatever the top market are just basically Mahomes, Allen, and Rodgers, maybe. It should really just
They're saying, too, the salary cap is going to go up because NFL Red Zone deals up, and they're saying they're going to get a big deal. Which is going to make it even higher.
But this is the thing that concerns me about some of these quarterbacks that are out here that are going to be that are talked about going to other teams. You got Matt Ryan, who is $48 million next year towards the cap. He's a $40 million dead cap hit if he's released before June 1st. He's only at $8 million after that. You got Kirk Cousins, who's a $45 million guaranteed $45 million next year because of his bonus, and then $45 million cap hit. So he would have to be traded. They just can't cut him. And then you have Rodgers, who's $46 million. We talked about $26 million against the cap. Then you have Wentz, who's $28 million. $28 million next year, $15 million of dead cap space for the Colts if they don't trade him. And you have Russell Wilson, who has a $37 million contract next year, a $26 million dead cap hit against Seattle if they don't trade him. So these guys just can't be cut. They got to be moved. And then you have Baker. Baker Mayfield is getting $18 million next year. He will be $18 million dead cap hit if they don't trade him and just cut him.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Baker's situation is interesting, too, because it's another one of the situations where it's like, can the Cleveland Browns even get a QB that's better than Baker for a year? Or do you just continue with his fifth-year option after all his injuries and just say, let's see what you got?
Yeah, and then you have teams out there that really need quarterbacks like Pittsburgh. I mean, Pittsburgh,
yes.
I mean, you need to make moves, and you have to fix your offensive line. You know, those are things that you really need to get fixed up before you even bring another quarterback in there. Because, Big Ben couldn't do anything.
I got a feeling like we want to see all these big moves. But I'm not going to be shocked if you see a lot of these teams that need quarterbacks that they don't pull the trigger, because this isn't that great of an offseason for quarterbacks, I feel like.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. At the end of the day,
like if you're
receivers.
Yeah, like if you're Pittsburgh, Rudolph hasn't been bad for you when he's had to step into that position. It's like, why would you even go trade for like a quarterback that might not even do well in that offense?
Yeah, Pittsburgh does have cap space. They do. That offensive line is terrible after
Horrible.
everyone basically retired. So, like, that's not really enticing at this point.
And not to
But,
mention Juju is on a move, possibly.
hmm yeah, yeah,
Like I talked about the Saints situation, and I was
yeah.
even like I put this on the Saints page. I said if you can't land one of these veteran quarterbacks, it's not even worth to draft one. I'd rather load up on receiving help and give a competition to Taysom Hill and Ian Book. I mean, you've Taysom Hill, who's 7-1 as a starting quarterback, and 90% of those starts he was injured.
Yeah.
That's true. And hey, another thing I thought of too, quick. Saints Stadium is indoors, so I think that's like the environment. I think the weather really plays into some of these decisions. You saw where frickin' Brady went.
100%.
And another thing I wanted to bring up is Bakhtiari tweeted the other day about in NFL players 100% agree. Why do we even have turf fields?
Yeah.
Everything should be grass. It's so much better. And I wonder if that plays a part too. I think 14. Okay, I'm looking it up. 17 have natural field grass, it looks like, and 14 have artificial, but that's only 31.
Oh, yeah, and they say turf doesn't give as easy as grass does. That's why you see a lot of those high ankle sprains or torn ACLs.
Yeah. Well, some other NFL news. No one actually has been really talking about this. Brian Flores actually landed a job with the Pittsburgh Steelers, which as a DC assistant and a linebackers coach, which is ironic because Art Rooney is the one that started the whole Rooney Rule, so he went to Pittsburgh. He was actually on HBO with Brian Gumbel, and he said that the Dolphins wanted him to sign an NDA, a non-disparagement agreement, for millions of dollars after he was fired. Signing the agreement would have silenced Flores. Flores, who actually filed the class action lawsuit against the NFL and other teams, said that he has proof that Stephen Ross, the owner, wanted him to sign this agreement to keep him quiet. The thing about this whole Miami team is it's getting to the point now where you might start hearing about almost like the Clippers, where they fired their owner after a while because of the stuff he was doing. I mean, but this guy, he's being tied to forcing him to lose games for hundreds of thousands of dollars, get fired and not talk about anything for millions, set up an interview on a yacht that Brian Flores came to, and of all the quarterbacks that were on the yacht that they were going to meet with, was Tom Brady, which was breaking all the rules because you're not allowed to meet with players during that time period, so he refused to get onto the boat. So it's going to be interesting where this goes, because it seems like Miami is kind of in trouble here.
But
now I heard what's screwing Brian Flores now is I think it's when he left New England to become the Miami coach. In his contract that he signed that year, there's like a clause that basically says, you have to keep your mouth shut if anything happens. Like you got to be a good boy and not talk about anything that happens. And I heard that's kind of screwing him now in court.
Well, that was that agreement they want him to sign.
No, that they just recently wanted to give him that recently. But I guess in his contract, there was a clause that he signed before he got to Miami that basically said, like, you aren't allowed to say it. And now he's kind of like screwing himself. Oh. Like, I think what he's doing, everyone knows that what he's doing is right. Like, the whole way that coaches are hired is stupid. What Miami did with him is stupid. But I guess it's kind of like he's also like in a hole now because of the contract that he signed before he became head coach.
Well,
yeah, we don't disagree with that premise at all. Yeah, that's a great point. There is a disparity.
Well, the thing about the whole Rooney Rule thing, that's a sham. I mean, he basically came out and said, Denver already had their coach picked. Bill Belichick actually texted him by mistake to actually congratulate Brian Daboll for landing the job before Flores even had his interview with the Giants. So
it's shady and it's crappy. It's a stupid rule.
So to me, I just think he's going to be in trouble. I really do. I think Miami, they're going to do an investigation, and I just think it's going to come down to someone's going to be in trouble.
To me, the bigger issue is if you're an owner and gambling and so much money is coming into play, and you're telling your head coach to bet on games or to manipulate games, come on. Like, that to me is more shameful than anything else, because you could legitimately have what, oh, my dad tells me the story. One of the Colts owners way back in the day did this in a game. He had money on the game, and so he forced the outcome. And like,
Yeah.
that to me is shadier.
That's what happens when you have billionaires all this money. I think Brian
Yeah.
Flores has a great reason to sue the NFL and to
Sue him. Go
Miami.
after him.
But I just
Yep.
think that when you're trying to sue such a big company, that they're going to find a way to win.
Well, they
They're
have
gonna find
the
a way to
best
cover their
attorneys, and
tracks.
they have the best attorneys in football. But the good thing is though, is Brian Flores already has his foot back in the door to be a coach again. So that's one thing that's helping him out.
Yeah.
So the owners didn't turn
Yep.
their back on him. But I say sue him, go after him. But
I agree.
the good thing is the Dallas Cowboys aren't being investigated for that whole cheerleader thing with one of their high ends. The commissioner came out and said, nope, we're not going to investigate them. And that just goes to show you the power of Jerry Jones in the NFL.
Yep, I agree.
Yeah, that's a good point. We talked about that either last or a couple weeks ago, I think.
All right, some of the other news: the Washington Commanders are expected to show interest in big name quarterbacks per Jimmy Fallon of ESPN. Rodgers, Wilson, and Watson are among the high-profile quarterbacks with uncertain futures. Wilson and Watson have a no-trade clause. Rodgers a free agent after 2022. Jimmy G and Cousins are other names that are being mentioned. Now, this comes into your segue there, Mr. Minnesota. Kevin O'Connell said that he plans to build his offense around Cousins. Most likely, Cousins signs his extension. Do you think that's going to happen in Minnesota?
Yes, at least for this year. Then I don't know.
Yeah.
We'll make our decision after that. But we're set up to win right now, especially with our coaching staff, which I'll
It'd be
get to
stupid to
later.
cut him. It'd be stupid to cut him.
Oh,
Yeah.
you can jump into that now if you want to jump into the Minnesota coaching staff.
Well, Mike Pettin, former Packer coach, I think he actually was the head coach. He was the D coordinator for the Packers, head coach for the Browns, I think. At one point before that, Ed Donatel, who honestly I don't know much about, but people rave about him, defensive coordinator for us. Pettin, I'm not sure his exact role, but the D coordinator is going to be Ed Donatel. Oh God, who's the offensive coordinator? Come back to me quick. I should have had this.
I heard a lot of the new coaches that they've been hiring, they like Kirk Cousins and they want to build around him.
Yes. Pettin, yeah, wow. So honestly, overall, it's been a pretty good, framework for the team to work around.
Oh, yeah. You guys are going to have a solid
I'm
team. That's
excited.
why I said I'm going to put money on them to win the North next year. Because I just think, even if Rodgers is there, I think that team's going to be so decimated by the salary cap. Devontae Adams and him aren't going to be able to do it by themselves. I think Minnesota's division to lose.
Sorry, I should have known this. Wes Phillips. That last name sound familiar to you Cowboy fans?
Yep, Wade Phillips.
Wade Phillips' son is our offensive coordinator. And we kept Keenan McCardell, the wide receiver coach, who, hey, shout out to Florida, Jacksonville. He was a Jacksonville wide receiver back in the day.
That's weird about Phillips, though, because that whole family is defensively oriented.
Really?
Yeah, Wade Phillips is one of the best defensive coordinators in football when it isn't it?
I guess them being defensive coordinators helps you be the best offensive coordinator you could be.
And let's be real. O'Connell is going to be the one kind of leading the offensive schemes, I think, or the overall game plan. We still have 3 positions left: linebackers, defensive backs, and special teams. Wow. So, although I thought we hired that, but I don't know.
I'll tell you what, too. You were talking about Washington and some of these other teams. Washington and the Eagles.
Ty, you're cutting out a little.
I guess they don't have the good cell service down here in Florida.
If I was their owner, I'd be all in for Wilson. I heard. Can you guys hear me?
Just let him go. There we go.
Yeah.
There. Now we got that. Calling in from a remote place in Florida. Ty.
Yeah, I was going to say, if I'm the Eagles or Washington, I'm going all in on a Wilson quarterback.
Well, other teams that are out there, other teams that are mentioned, you got the Eagles, Steelers, Bucks, Broncos, Panthers, Colts, Saints. Those are teams that are expected to be scouring the NFL offseason in the market for a quarterback.
I would take Trubisky. We were talking about that earlier. If I can't get Winston, I would take Trubisky for a cheap deal.
Really? For the Saints?
I think he's got a good arm, a good pocket passer.
Honestly, you want to talk about in a bind, and it really doesn't matter. I still think the Saints got a lot of issues. So if they could get Trubisky, why not? I don't know if that entices Thomas to play. And to be honest, I don't know about Kamara either. But
Thomas is on good terms right now. He's coming back. He's in New Orleans. He's training.
Okay.
If they make certain cuts and change certain contracts, if we get a quarterback in there, that team's still a playoff team. That defense is still young. They're going to cut a couple of the veterans. They're going to move some contracts around. They're going to draft some offensive weapons to help out with Michael Thomas. That team's still good. Top 5 offensive line.
Yeah, that's a good point. They do have a good line, which is honestly huge in a quarterback's decision, especially when coaches know that they're legit or like they know that they got. God, isn't it weird to talk about Trubisky? It's weird to be talking this much anyways about football, but
you know what's crazy? I would want someone like that, though. I mean, would you, if you were an organization, would you be willing to part ways with draft picks and a long amount, like a big amount of draft picks for an older quarterback? I mean, Aaron Rodgers is going to be 39. You have Russell Wilson, who's 35. Would you be willing to part ways for a part-time quarterback that's only going to be there for a couple of years and ruin the future of your team by taking on that salary? I wouldn't.
If you're built to win, yes.
If I'm the Eagles, right? Think about this. If I'm the Eagles, and they are slowly building a very good offense and a good defense, right? If you can get a Russell Wilson, I mean, if you have 3 first-round picks, there's an 80% chance 2 of those are busts. You could get a Hall of Fame quarterback right now who is an elite quarterback with great accuracy, who could turn that team into a Super Bowl team.
Yeah, but let me tell you something, Ty. Eagles only have like between $21 and $24 million in cap space. If I'm a smart GM, I'm taking one of those picks. I'm trading out of that position and picking up 2 more picks. Either a second or for this year, or a second and third, or a second this year and a second next year. I wouldn't
Kris,
sit on all those picks.
I'm going to sign us up for a GM 101 course so we can figure out the math behind this crap and figure out what is dead cap.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
See, I wouldn't invest in a big name quarterback that might not be there for a long time. I don't think paying $46 million to a quarterback's worth it.
You know what changed my opinion? I heard an insider talking about it this way. He goes, you think of all of the sports, right? The best teams that win spend the most money. You think about the Yankees. The Yankees never go into a rebuild mode because they go out, even if they're veterans, they will go and get the best talent. If you want to win in this league nowadays, compete with how good these teams are, you got to go out and get these players.
Yeah,
draft picks, I feel like the value of draft picks are slowly going down. Like, you look at the Rams, traded everything they had, and they got a Super Bowl.
Yeah, but a lot of those players were draft picks. I mean, outside of Ramsey, but they were built ready though too.
Absolutely.
So
you're not gonna see that happen often, where you just go out and pick up free agents. Look at the Yankees; have been trying it for years, and they still haven't gotten a World Series. But that's just this. I mean, I'm not gonna say it was a fluke, but when they picked up good people this year. I mean, you picked up a disgruntled OBJ who had a solid second half. You picked up a Von Miller who didn't really do anything in Denver, who was injured, came over there and turned it around in the playoffs. And you had Stafford, who was great in the beginning of the season, faded back to the Detroit Stafford, and had a good playoff run. So I don't think that can happen for everybody. But if I'm the Eagles,
they're talking about.
If I'm the Eagles, you have a good quarterback. You can build around that quarterback with your 3 picks, or trade out and get more picks.
Yeah, there's 8 teams. I think in thinking all this through after 30 plus minutes of talk, there's about 8 teams that I think legitimately think they're one quarterback away. As Ty's saying,
yeah,
one of those
I agree.
One of them's Dallas.
Yeah, especially the Steelers. I would say the Steelers, too, with how good their defense is and how much talent they have on that roster. Another talk that they were saying, though, too, is, you look at some of these quarterbacks that are pushing their way out of teams, and then they go to a team, the grass is green on the other side, and they win it all. Peyton Manning did it. Matthew Stafford, you just all did it. Tom Brady did it.
Mm-hmm.
There's almost like that movement of quarterbacks that are trying to get out. Like, you might see Kyler Murray do it.
Mm-hmm.
All right, some NFL roster moves that happened just the other day. I thought someone was coming in the door. The Titans actually came to terms with wideout Josh Malone. The Bengals re-signed wideout Trent Taylor. The Lions re-signed linebacker Josh Woods. The Packers signed kicker Dominic Eberle, I guess that is. And released or waived, the Chiefs actually released a good linebacker, Anthony Hitchens, who was with the Cowboys, is released. And the Saints cut kicker Brett Maher. So,
well, that's because we have Will Lutz coming back.
Yeah. Now, here's some scenarios for the draft, and I just went through a couple of the teams, and of course I picked our 3 teams. It says, one mistake teams must avoid in the 2022 draft. For the Bears, ignore defense and build around Fields. They're saying that's bad if they ignore defense. They need to build up that defense again. They have $27.4 million to build up the offense through free agency. So they say that they should focus on nothing but defense. Cincinnati, select anyone other than O-line. If Cincinnati passes on a blocker with the 31st pick, it would be unthinkable. You have names like Zion Johnson, Trevor, I can't read my handwriting, and Bernard Ravman. So they did it last year. They overlooked an offensive lineman and picked up probably the best rookie receiver in NFL history. If they do it again, I think with the 31st pick, I think they would be in a lot of trouble with their fan base, to be honest with you, because after what Burrow went through and the beating in the playoffs, what was he sacked like 17 times in like 3 games?
Yeah.
That would
he'll be the next Andrew Luck if they don't build an offensive line around him.
Dallas Cowboys.
He's a tough dude, but yeah.
The main thing they're saying for Dallas Cowboys is they have holes on the offensive and defensive line and cornerback, but they can't overlook the receiver. With the uncertainty of Amari Cooper, you have Gallup and you have Cedric Wilson as free agents. They need to do something as far as picking up a receiver to keep that high-flying offense, the number 2 best passing attack, chugging along. Possibly solutions. Five of the league's offensive top 7 receiving threats could be leaving their teams this year, so there's going to be a lot of offensive receiving weapons available in free agency. Minnesota.
That high-flying offense that did.
Yeah, you're muffled, Ty. We'll ignore you.
Yeah. They've been known to draft well, too, and I think Ty alluded to this in past episodes, the Ohio State receivers are solid. So there's some sneaky guys where they're going to be picking they could take.
What the write-up said about Minnesota is they cannot bypass prospects at premium positions early. The Vikings have issues at defensive end opposite Danielle Hunter and cornerback Pat Peterson, whether or not he resigns. 12th pick should have options to get LSU's Derek Stingley Jr., Clemson's Andrew Booth Jr., Washington's Trent McDuffie, Michigan's David Ajabu, and Purdue's George Karalatis. So they're saying defensive end is the main thing that you guys need to pick up this year in the draft. Do you agree or disagree with that?
100% agree. I think, honestly, to build a good team, you need a good line on both sides. And we've got a decent offensive line to keep them good. Sometimes our play calling is just shitty. Same with the mistakes, but whatever. That's rinse and repeat. You're right. We need to go after somebody in the draft because I don't know what the free agency is like. Everybody in free agency now is talking about the quarterbacks and the offensive position. So you have no clue who's available on the defensive side. I think Von Miller for sure is one, but that's a large contract for any team to take on, and the Vikings surely are not going to do that.
Yeah. Now, for the Saints, Ty, they're saying the biggest mistake they can do is force a quarterback selection. Jameis Winston, prior to the torn ACL, MCL, had 14 TDs, 3 interceptions in the Saints, and went 5-2. With Pete Carmichael returning as the OC, the offense shouldn't dramatically change. Winston could step right back in with the 18th pick. They could use it on other things like to build around Winston, O-line or receiver. I think Winston is a quarterback you could probably get for 18 to 20 million, which is actually pretty damn cheap for quarterbacks anymore.
Yeah, I agree. I think if there's not a good quarterback selection, you don't force it. I think worst comes to worst, you have an open competition with Ian Book and Taysom Hill, and if you can load another good receiver in there with Callaway and Michael Thomas, it'll make it easier for any quarterback that's in there.
Hey, Ole Miss has a quarterback named Matt Corral.
Yeah.
You think they draft him if he's there?
They have the Saints in a couple mock drafts taking him. I think if he's available, if they think truly that he could go in there and start winning, but
where did they draft Ian Book? By the way, like where did that come from?
Well, they drafted Ian Book last year, right? So that's why I'm like, if you can't find a quarterback that's better than Taysom Hill or Ian Book, you didn't even give the kid a chance. His chance was Miami when our offensive line had COVID.
You go back-to-back on quarterbacks, back-to-back years. You're as bad as Denver picking how many quarterbacks over the last couple of years.
Yeah. Hey,
I just don't.
Shout out to Paxton Lynch.
Yeah, he got picked up in the USFL. And then since we have,
I just don't think that there's.
Go ahead.
I don't think there's a quarterback in that draft that could perform better in the Saints' offense right off the bat than a Taysom Hill or Ian Book or Jameis Winston could.
Maybe Pickett.
Yep.
I don't know.
Oh.
And then I got to bring up the Eagles because we live in Philadelphia. The Eagles, they cannot
Not
pass.
anymore.
They cannot pass on center Tyler Linderbaum if he's available. With 3 picks in the first round, the Eagles could address multiple positions in premium spots on the D line and secondary. However, Linderbaum is a perfect fit for what the Eagles do offensively. He's a rare center capable of being a top 15 selection, graded as the 8th best prospect in the draft this year. With their 11-year vet, Jason Kelsey, in the last year of his contract and turning 35 in November, he could consider retirement. Even if he doesn't, Linderbaum could help beef up an interior O-line. So that would be huge for the Eagles. And with that, I'm done with football. Unless you guys have something to
I think
add.
with 3 first-round picks, if I'm the Eagles, like you can address a lot, like you said, or you can even use 2 of them and trade the other one and get even more second and third-round picks and get even more people.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm excited.
Them in Washington could take that leap this year to challenge the
They could.
Cowboys. So
I think if Dallas doesn't play their
drafting-
cards right, they could struggle.
Yep. Yeah. And especially, I mean, I think you alluded to it for sure, Kris, the tentativeness in Prescott to not run anymore is pretty apparent. And that's what made him effective a lot of times.
Yeah, and I think with all the weapons, if the Cowboys do find a way to bring back all their weapons, if Amari, if they extend him out to stretch that contract out or whatever, if they find ways to bring this team back together again, and we still struggle, I think it's time that you have to start looking at Dak. Is Dak the quarterback for this team? And unfortunately, no one likes to hear it, but the Dallas Cowboys is the most talked about team in football. You know, even in the offseason, you're hearing about Cowboys stuff already. So it's going to start coming down to who is it? Is it Dak or is it Kellen, or is it both of them? And that could.
Yeah, if I'm Dallas, go ahead.
That could make a big difference down the line whether one of them goes or not.
If I'm Dallas too, like I feel like Amari's walking, or he's gonna want to trade. So like I might even be putting my focus more towards it's not Galladay, it's a Godwin, no, not Godwin, Gallup. You know, because like you said, if you lose Gallup and you lose Amari Cooper, I mean, all you have is CD Lamb.
But the problem about Gallup is he's coming off an ACL tear. You don't know how good he's going to be. I mean, that's a tough injury to come back for any position where you do a lot of cutting. Maybe I mean, if you're going to let Amari go, you trade him away. I mean, you could probably get a Chris Godwin for like 18, 19 million a year, 20 million a year. I mean, and I think he's just as good as Amari Cooper. I think he could be a number 1. I mean, you put him with a Cedric Wilson, and you put him with a Gallup and a CD Lamb. I mean, I don't think your team's any different. I mean, Amari Cooper only had 68 receptions for a $20 million man. I mean, that's crazy, and I can't blame it just on him. But I don't know. Yeah. Well, here's where we segue into one of our new. Well, we'll have sound effects and all that coming up too. No, we're gonna go to the NBA Hardwood. Going to the NBA Hardwood.
Oh, man.
So eventually we'll have sound effects, and I'll just hit a button and it'll just like go into it. We'll have like a voiceover and everything. But the Lakers are in a power struggle right now, and it's between superstar LeBron James and GM Rob Pelinka. According to Bill Oram, the situation is tense. Pelinka, with the help of James, has built this old injury-riddled roster, and they're sitting in 9th seed, 6 games behind the number 6 Nuggets. Apparently, James wanted to make some trades at the trade deadline. He wanted to pick up John Wall from Houston, and they wanted to trade away Westbrook and picks, I guess a first-round pick. And they thought that the deal was it's just a horrible trade in general. And LeBron James, you know, the man with all the power, just doesn't like that, and he's not happy. So him, and he's being represented by Clutch Sports. I think it's the same agent that Ben Simmons has. That's why you always see Rich Paul sitting on the sideline at the Lakers games. They're just basically, I think they're going to bump heads to the point where something's going to happen. I think LeBron's going to be on his way out. LeBron to lose.
I heard today that they're actually that there's no tension there. That they are struggling and that they're trying to flip it around. But I heard that everyone's like on good terms.
I don't know. Anyway, LeBron said that his last year in the NBA will be played with Bronny. He said he'll do whatever it takes, and he wants to play for his son for 1 year. And that he said at that point, it's not about the money; it's just playing with Bronny. I actually had some stats on Bronny. I didn't get to open him up before we came on. He's actually not a bad player. He's 6'3".
He's not.
He averages about 15
He's
points
not averaging
a game.
A lot of points.
Yeah, but he averages like 15 points. He gets like 15 points, 8 rebounds, 5 assists, 6 assists. It's not bad. I mean, he has one more year of high school, then he has to play one more year of college, 1 year of college, or 1 year of professional, like a minor league, G League or something. So by 20.
What about this? How curious is this, right? Like, if you're a team, do you simply just draft Bronny just to.
Dead air. Pick up, sign.
That was perfect
Sign.
timing.
Yeah, that you just answered it. Nope, nothing. You don't sign Bronny just to pick up LeBron James. LeBron James will be almost 40 years old, and I would not want to pick up LeBron James just to play with his son, to build his son up to be something that he's not right now. So I wouldn't want that. And anyway, the Sixers have signed Willie Cauley-Stein to a 10-day contract. They need backup help for Joel Embiid. He played 18 games for the Mavericks, and he hasn't really done much. So I think the Sixers are just grasping at straws because Reed right now isn't the answer. And I think they need somebody for Embiid because, let's face it, Embiid always gets injured. And I think we lost Ty, but it's all right. He's driving. Hopefully it's driving. And there he is. He's back.
No, you're good. I was checking my maps, making sure I'm still in the right path.
Just 95 South, you'll see signs for Boca Raton. But the Sixers actually played tomorrow. I think we play Minnesota tomorrow. Tomorrow, and Harden is playing his first game for the 76ers. And
yes, sir, let's go.
And Harden's jersey right now is the number one sold jersey right now by the franchise.
I found out that the Heat Stadium is only like 40 minutes from where I'm at. So, I might have to go see my Sixers beat up on the Heat.
That would be a hot ticket, man. That would be a hot ticket.
Playoffs?
Yeah, I think
you guys come to the Target Center tomorrow night. We play Memphis tonight. We're playing at home against Memphis tonight. That's a sweet matchup these next 2 games.
Oh, see, you play tonight and tomorrow. We haven't played since the All-Star break, so we're going to be fresh. Man, we got a skinny James Harden coming into town with it's on. It's on.
I'm excited to see how Harden molds with this team because you see him working out with Maxey and training Maxey and I heard some interesting stuff at Brooklyn with him where like they had a whole different game plan when he went out there because he didn't like the game plan that they were with. So I'm hoping everything works because he wanted to come to Philly originally. So I'm hoping he stays. I'm hoping it works out. Him and Embiid, I'm hoping that's the piece we need to get to the championship.
And then this little part here just brings us back to Aaron. If Aaron listens to our podcast, Zion is going to have a second surgery on his foot. They're comparing him to Lamar Odom, who in 3 years only played 85 games. Zion in 3 years only played 85 games. He's
18?
What, Ty?
Yeah, that's tough.
I was saying that's crazy.
Yeah. The Pelicans, who have the money to re-sign him and extend him out, have a tough decision to make because you're counting on a guy who is going to be a star who is struggling to get onto the court now, and even people like JJ Redick, who have been teammates with them, are calling him out and saying he's detached from the team. And it took him 2 weeks to contact CJ McCollum, who was traded to his team, and the only reason he reached out to him basically was because he was pressured because of all the stuff in the news.
Now, how crazy is that? Because they're saying, a player like that, he might be available for a contract for like 5 years, 180 million, and people are like, that doesn't make sense because he's only played 85 games. But I know, like when he plays, he averages 27 points and 10 rebounds. So it's like, why would he not be trying to get back in there with CJ McCollum and Brandon Ingram and these great players? Like, does he have too many people in his ear? I know his family doesn't seem happy that he's in New Orleans.
Well, one of the problems is too, Ty, is you have a guy who has a knee injury and now he has a foot injury that won't heal right, and he weighs almost 300 pounds, and that's a lot of strain on that part of the body. That's it's too much. Anyway,
it's just sad when you see guys like that talent get drafted, and within a year or two they just try and get their way out of a team. Like, you're there to build that team up, like, and they're trading pieces to help build around you. Like, that irritates me.
All right,
that's what irritates me about the whole situation too. Same with Simmons. Like, I realized that things didn't go down the right way, but you acted like a baby.
Now, how are you going to say you have mental health and you don't show up to one Sixers game and your first game with the Nets, you're there on the sideline with a big smile on your face?
Well, he's not. They're saying he's not going to be playing for a couple more weeks. So I would be surprised if you saw him play against the Sixers. I think if you go to Philadelphia for your first game back, you're going to have more mental health issues.
Yeah, couldn't handle that.
I wouldn't want to play. I wouldn't want to play.
So my last thing for the NBA is Chris Paul, whose team has a 7-game lead over the Warriors, has a fractured thumb. He's looking at about a 6 to 8 week time frame before being reevaluated, which means he will miss the rest of the regular season. Do you think
you can play with a fractured thumb? Come on now.
Okay, you play basketball, but do you think the Phoenix Suns are in trouble if they don't have Chris Paul for the playoff run?
No, but do you know if it's his right? Do you know if it's his shooting hand or his non-shooting hand? Like, I feel like you could wrap that stuff up and still play.
I don't know, man. Fractured thumb, man. You take that ball off of that thumb, even just reaching, or somebody you try to steal a ball, and you get jammed on that thing. You're gonna be on the ground crying.
Yeah, they still got a lot of good young talent on that team. I think that they might lose a lot.
Yeah.
More, but I think that they'll still be in an okay situation to get the playoffs. They're one of the best teams in that conference.
All right, we're going to jump into our last segue. It's the MLB Around the Horn. Since Monday, the MLB and the MLB PA have been meeting. On Monday, the MLB PA had the chance to put on their case, and the MLB put on their case following. And from what I heard today, Wednesday, the owners basically just gave a deadline for the season, I guess. Basically saying they're going to start cutting games.
Yep. Yeah, next week. I think it's Tuesday.
The 28th is the deadline, right?
Yeah, so Monday of next week. It's not looking.
They want to make an agreement by the 28th and then have like 3 or 4 weeks of spring training. But yeah, like Aaron just said, it is not looking good.
Ty, I think they're in Jupiter, Florida. I heard. I don't know if you've passed there yet, but
Did you say Jupiter?
Yeah.
I just passed it.
Oh, no kidding. I think that's where negotiations are. Scope it out.
So I walk in and be like, yo, mother truckers, let's go. Like,
we need a live report.
Well, from what I'm understanding is Monday both teams met for 5 hours. MLB offered only slight adjustments to the recent proposal. On Tuesday, it was the players' turn to propose the framework. Instead of 80% of the players with 2 to 3 years of service being eligible for arbitration, now they want 75%. Dropped from 8 picks.
Drop a year, I think.
Dropped from 8 picks in the amateur draft to 7. Some increases in minimum salary. Players are still proposing a first-year minimum salary of $775,000, but with a $30,000 increase in both second and third year. The MLB actually wants to use a federal mediator, but the union has rejected it for the second time. The union wants to directly negotiate with the MLB. The owner.
Another big thing that the players are upset about is they're upset about that whole thing where like MLB teams kind of screw them, and if they're ready to come to the pros, they'll do that whole thing where they send them down to the minors for like 2 months, so that way they hold them on to another year for a rookie deal. I heard there's a lot of players that want to get rid of that.
But this is what the owners want. The owners reportedly want to raise the bonus pool for pre-arbitration players to $20 million. MLB previously offered $15 million for the top 30 players. The MLB PA, the Players Association, is seeking $115 million for bonus pool to split among the top 150 players. The owners also want a draft lottery for the top 4 picks. MLB previously offered a lottery for the top 3 picks only. The union wants 7 picks, like we just talked about, instead of the 8. No luxury tax has yet. There's no talks about the luxury tax at all. MLB is offering a small raise to the tax with a much harsher penalty. The MLB PA is seeking a raise from $210 million to $245 million.
They want a huge raise.
Yeah.
And same thing with the salaries. I was going to mention. You mentioned the players want 770 something. The owners want 650, which is still a raise, but that's how much of it. Or like less than, you know what I mean? Like they're not even close with some of these marks.
The owners.
I truly don't think it's going to be a short season this year. It's not going to get done soon.
The owners also rescinded their request to control the total number of minor league teams. Both sides remain far apart on the following: minimum salary, competitive balance tax, which is a CBT, the luxury tax on payrolls, structure of salary arbitration, size of bonus pool and pre-arbitration players, and revenue sharing. the CBT may be the final obstacle. Owners wanted to come to modifying it, but it's just, I think the bottom line is they're too far apart on the dollar figure.
Yeah.
And then it said, by all indications from the MLB, the sides, the 2022 offseason will not resume and spring training will not begin until the new CBA is in place, at least on a conditional basis. It says at any time, though, the MLB could use the old CBA and lift the lockout, but the league has shown no interest and willingness to do that. Both sides just are at a stalemate.
I was going to say, the collective bargaining tax, who cares about that? Go after one issue.
Yeah.
Honestly. And if it's one issue, arbitration. The whole point of like where owners and teams can have a say in whether or not a player makes a full season, what's considered a full season to play in, in the majors is just huge because they can manipulate that so they get another year to be able to keep them on a rookie contract.
Oh, yeah.
So like fight for arbitration at this point.
Yeah, and I was going to say, too, like, there should be a set date where if they have not come to a new agreement, they should have to go to the old one and not punish the players and the fans. Like, just go get back up with it next year.
I agree.
Yeah.
And the thing that sucks is us, the fans, are the ones that pay the price for it, And let's face it, even if they don't lift the lockout, MLB owners they're not going to be hurting. They're already locked into TV contracts and stuff. And let's face it, they don't make their money until the end of the season. That's where they really start making their money. So they can hold out as long as they want. It's bad. It's a bad look for the game. I mean, when you're constantly fighting over money, I mean, you have people that are in this world struggling to live, and you're raising. I mean, there's teams raising ticket prices again. It's just. I was going to say, until it affects the bottom line, the sales numbers, season ticket holders, all that. It always comes down to that. They get so big that they forget about the people that support them, and it's the fans. I mean, you can't even afford to go to a game with a family anymore. It's just it's ridiculous, and they got to find a way to fix it. They really do.
Yep, 100%.
But that's all I have, guys. I mean, you guys can jump into whatever you want. You want to shoot the shit about something, we can shoot it. Should we go off topic? Let's go off topic. COVID numbers are coming down. That's a good thing. COVID numbers are coming down.
Yeah, you should have heard the Pat McAfee show because they had an insider on talking about how Brooklyn's about to lift their mandate. All these.
Kyrie's allowed to play now. Kyrie's allowed to play at home now. I should have put that in my NBA around the hard court. I was going to say we need to talk
not yet though. It might take a week. Yeah, it might take a week or two, but it's gonna happen.
Wait, sorry, Ty, we kind of cut you off. They were screaming about beating COVID.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they're all like, we did it. Obviously, we did it, yeah. They were so fired up.
Although there is another variant out there again. Another Omicron variant.
Stop it. We don't need that right now.
I know.
Stop, Chris. We're going to pivot. Let's pivot back to NBA champ. Let's pick our NBA champions. Who we think is going to play in the championship and win it. It's so early, but we can come back to this. That's why I love it.
Well, if I had to pick out of the East,
I'm going to say Golden State.
You can't sing because you're. I'm going to mute you. You're all broken up. You got that Florida. You got sunburn in your throat or something. It's all broken up.
Yeah, I feel bad for Ty.
Yeah, if I had to pick out of the East, I'm honestly going to say it's out of three teams. I don't think
Golden State beat.
I'm going to say it's out of the Sixers. I think it's out of the Sixers. It's out of Milwaukee, and I think it's out of Miami for the number one seed. Just me personally. I think out of the West, I'm going Golden State. I think Golden State's gonna be the better team. I think Golden State has the best shooters in the league. I think Phoenix is good, but if they don't have Chris Paul is the general that runs that ship. I don't think they have enough weapons. You take Booker out of the game, they really don't have anything. So I'm gonna say, oh God, sorry Johnny, I'm gonna say the Sixers. No, I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't know if the Sixers have enough to do it. I don't know if the Sixers have enough to do it.
I'm taking Golden State.
No.
Yeah, I'm taking Golden State, and they're either going to play the Sixers or the Nets.
I don't know about the Nets, man. I just think the Nets can't stay healthy, and I don't think they have enough. I don't think they have enough there. I think
I tell you what,
I don't think it's going to gel like they think it is.
Ty, who do you think wins then? So we can record yours.
if Kyrie Irving gets to play, I think I'll take the Sixers.
No versus. Okay, so then the Warriors versus Sixers. Who you got?
I'm going to take the Warriors, unfortunately.
Okay.
I'm sorry. I'm going Miami against the Warriors. I think Embiid is due an injury yet. We don't have a backup for him. And I think that nothing against Harden. He doesn't play defense. And I think Steph Curry is going to be the Magic Man this year. I think Golden State beats Miami in 6. Sorry, Sixers fan. I'm a huge Sixers fan, but I think we gave too much away for Harden. Come on, Ace, what's your pick?
I think the draft pick.
I'm going with the Bucks. I got to go with the Bucks. In spirit of Johnny, I think that would be
really.
They got a deep team overall, and if Pat Connaughton can get back healthy and prove that he can hit the outside shot, they could be dangerous. But it obviously hinges on Giannis and if Embiid's going to be guarding him or if they play the Heat. I think they're more talented in the Heat. I think Embiid and the Sixers probably give them the most trouble as well as the Nets. Because, I mean, the Nets clearly, if Durant's healthy and Simmons can play like a Draymond Green or kind of a multifaceted Andre Kirilenko, no, he could shoot better.
We can't forget about the Bulls, too. The Bulls are a good team.
Dang it. Oh, you stole it. Okay, Bulls versus the Bucks. It's going to be they don't want, this would never happen. It'd be a Midwest showdown, but Bulls versus Bucks.
Dude, Rosen's been hot lately, man. Well, I mean, what's his name?
You got to think.
Oh, wait, no,
yeah,
I'm an idiot. Hold up. That's in the conference championships. That's what I could say.
Yeah, I was gonna say, but you got to think the Bulls are playing well and they're still missing injuries.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think Levine's back though.
It's the ball guy that has to come back.
The Rosen's insane right now. I mean, what's he averaging, like 38 points a game or something like that?
He's going off.
Didn't he set a record like 30-point games, 7 straight 30-point games, and like 10 rebounds or something ridiculous?
You got DeRozan,
I feel bad, Ty. It's like cutting it out a lot, unfortunately.
Yeah.
All right, I cheated. I cheated the game because I ended up picking the conference final instead of the NBA champion final. I got the Suns. I think when Paul gets back, they're going to make it.
Wow.
I can't. No, I meant to say Memphis. I wanted to take the underdog Memphis and just say screw it. So I'm picking the Grizzlies.
Wow.
But again,
that's a bold
Midwest.
pick.
They're not going to have Midwest, so Bucks repeat. If that
sounds good. That sounds good. So we all went in different ways, man. So that works. That works.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. What do you say about baseball? Who wins the World Series?
That's too early.
Yankees in 7.
Yankees
in 7. I don't know. It's going to be interesting though because once they open baseball up, it's going to be a lot of free agents that have to get signed. I mean, they're saying Soto could be the first $500 million man. They're saying he can get a $500 million contract, which is insane. That's a large amount of money. They're saying Judge can get somewhere between 6 years and $150 to $160 million, which it's not a bad deal, I guess. But
that's actually a fair contract, I think, honestly.
Yeah, and then you get the shortstop. Was it Correa, whatever his name is? What's he looking at? $300+ million. I mean, Soto just turned down a $300+ million contract. I mean, how do you turn that kind of money down?
I just don't think players want to be locked in that long. You got to think about it. He's so young that he can get 2 mega deals for like 4-year deals and make more than that money.
Yep.
Well, what was it today? They said that if they don't play and they start canceling games, it's Garrett Cole loses it's like $100,000 an inning or something like that. Some crazy amount of money. I was like, wow. That's nuts. Yeah.
There's a handful of teams that can win, but honestly, at this point, it's fun to joke about it. But
it sucks for these players too that we're gonna get these big contracts, and then you go into this whole crazy lockout now.
Yeah. But that's all I got, man. You know, the last couple of days it's been crazy. I've been watching my phone, watching Ty drive, making sure that he's getting down there safe. You know, a father and a mother that, you know, wish him nothing but the best up here. And we're preparing for a winter storm as he's preparing to put suntan lotion on.
Yeah, I got 20 minutes left till I get there. I got to pee really bad. Beach day tomorrow. Come on now.
Yeah.
Woo. Good luck, dude. Congrats as well.
Yeah,
Appreciate it.
You know, he'll see as a father one day when he's a father, it's tough to say goodbye. It's tough to let go, especially when you have a good bond with your kids. Especially when you have a good bond with your kids. You know, it's tough. It really is.
Is it weird? Is it weird sitting there and me not sitting across from you right now?
No, because I've done this several times without you with Aaron already, so I'm used to it.
Oh, okay.
Nah, it is because, you know, I don't see your little beady eyes peeking through the Saints and the Cowboys cup looking at me. It's gonna be different. I mean, I'm still learning the whole process of editing, and hopefully this goes well, and we'll get this up on all the platforms as soon as I can. You know, thank you to all the listeners.
We believe.
Yeah.
We believe in you, dude.
But we will get this set up. And when Ty gets situated down there, we'll reestablish the trio again, and not one driving. But this will be up on all platforms. I will do my best to get this edited. We appreciate each and every one of you that do listen to the podcast. We are looking forward to having more guests on soon. Definitely praying for all the people.
This podcast is gonna take off.
Praying for definitely all the people over in the Ukraine. Even I'm praying for the Russian soldiers. You know, these guys are forced to do something that maybe not all of them want to do. Just thoughts and prayers to everybody out there. The world is crazy right now, and just hopefully things turn around for the better. And that's all I got to say.
Amen to that. Whenever you think about doing something, think if it's a good or a bad decision, and make sure you lean in the positive direction. I think that's always good.
Ty, you gonna end with something?
Yeah, Ty, you should end it.
I can't wait to get set up, because now we record on Zoom. You know, we could do like the whole one person highlighted box gets big rather than the gallery view. I'm excited, man. Podcast. I know Aaron's gonna move down here soon, right, Aaron?
If I can convince staff, I mean, your parents are not that far from where you are, honestly. So
that's it.
I'm excited.
Gonna force me to have to pack up and move south.
I can't wait to get set up, and we can do this every week, and I will be, sitting down and have my microphone set up, and I'm excited. All I got.
All right, guys. Well, we're gonna end this, and we'll look forward to doing this again next week. And everyone have a great night. Peace.